I gotta admit it. Last spring, I was depressed. I sat at home for months during the coronavirus lockdown, and I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I showed symptoms of depression. I wasn't physically active. I ate more. I was tense. I yelled at the kids more. My sleep was irregular. It was hard to get motivated to do things. And every day felt like I didn't accomplish much. And for me, the feeling that I'm not effective takes an emotional toll on me. And it turns out that statistically, feelings of depression have tripled since the coronavirus season started. And we know that anxiety is spiking because there's a nationwide shortage of Zoloft. And it seems like the nation is waking up to the reality that this coronavirus season is having an impact on our mental health and happiness. Chances are you're waking up to this reality as well. Do you feel angry? Do you feel disconnected? Do you feel hopeless? Do you feel lack of confidence in the future? Have you slipped into destructive habits? Or have you drifted from God? I want to talk to you today about what's missing in your life. What's missing in your life is church. And I'm not talking about my religious institution when I say that. I mean the assembly. Whenever the Bible talks about church, it talks about it as the assembly of Christian people. Listen, I love that you're watching our videos and engaging in that way, but let me ask you a question. When was the last time you assembled with Christian people? And when you last did that, were you depressed? Were you angry, disconnected? Were you hopeless or drifting from God? I know that the coronavirus is real, and I know that many of you have legitimate reasons for not assembling, and that's fine. But what I'm asking is that you recognize that these times aren't normal, and they aren't forever, and that the physical isolation that you're experiencing is taking a toll. It took me months for me to look back at my life last spring and admit that the lack of physical assembly took a toll on me. Do you know who in the Bible was first to use the word church? It was Jesus. When his disciple Peter confessed that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, Jesus talks about the church for the first time, saying, I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. It's from Matthew 16:18. And most Christians consider this to be the starting point of the Christian church, and it was born out of a calling. In fact, the Greek word for church is ekklesia, and that means out of calling. Ek meaning out of, and kaleo being the root word for calling. And I want you to have a mental shift about how you think about church. It's not something you go to. If you can go to church, then you can leave a church. That's not what this is. This is not just a destination, it's a people. It's not a building, it's an identity born out of calling. And we are the church, and Jesus said that the gates of hell will not prevail against us. Jesus is telling us that we are in a war. And now let me ask you a question. Are you engaged in the battle? Maybe what's missing from your life is that engagement. Maybe you haven't been engaged in the battle, pushing back the forces of darkness and really making a difference according to your calling. Maybe you need church now more than ever because you're missing your calling. I talked to a friend from our church the other week, and he said that he's been on the sidelines too long. He hadn't talked to anyone about Jesus all year, and he hasn't helped anyone in a long time either. It's just been a long time since he's been engaged in the battle, engaged in his calling as a Christian. He hopped onto Facebook, and he didn't go there to make comments about the cultural, political battle that's always on there, and it always will be, I feel like, because his battle, our battle, as a church, isn't against mask wearers or non-mask wearers or people who make garbage posts on the internet or people who vote one way or the other. Our battle is against dark forces of this world, and to push it back with our love and faith. So on Facebook, he replied to an old lady who needed help hanging some pictures and said that he would go over there and do it for her. And he doesn't usually do this, but he said, let me take one of these Bible tracts with me, just in case. He was ready to engage the battle. He helped the lady, and he saw a natural opening to talk about faith, and he led her through a prayer. And the lady, she renewed her faith, and now she wants to start coming to church again. And not only did she have a renewed faith with God, so did my friend, who needed to engage in his calling. So take an honest look. Have you felt alone, disconnected, ineffective, or like life just isn't working the way it should? I want you to consider that what's missing in your life is church. And speaking from the other side of the equation, what's missing from the church is you. And it's important it's important to acknowledge the power of community, where iron sharpens iron, and together you strengthen and you lift and you encourage and you love one another. You can't do that alone. We cannot fight this battle alone. And some of you are ready, and you know what you need to do. It's time to engage. And even if you can't come every week to the assembly, you can live up to your calling as a church. You can talk to someone about faith. You can help someone you don't even know. You can be a prayer warrior right from where you're at. You can give, you can invite people, even to watch videos. You can invite them. And others of you are ready for both the assembly and the calling. And so many of you are already coming back and resurrecting ministries that died during the shutdown, or you're starting new ones altogether. And so many of you are coming back and resurrecting your life groups or joining them for the first time. So many of you are doing more than watching videos and attending a service. So what are we? We're a church. We're an assembly, and we're in a battle, and we have a calling. And it's time to engage. And just let me know in the comments. Let me know. Send me a message, and I can help you. Let's help you get engaged. I want to thank you for listening in today with open hearts and open minds. Now take care. God bless you.